Hello, my friend. It's certainly good to have you back as we discuss the principles of good public speaking. Now, we've talked about many items now in this series of public speaking addresses and lessons on how to do this in an effective way. We've talked about the introduction, we've talked about the conclusion, we've talked about stories and illustrations, we've talked about piecing together your outlines, lots of material that we've covered. This goes quickly, I know, but it's very, very important for you to figure out how to do this. Today we want to talk about the speech aids, ways in which you can use various items to give an illustration or an idea or use as a model for others to understand what you're talking about. Now, there are all kinds of ways to do this. We're going to talk about the presentation aids and how to use these in speaking to inform. What could you use for a presentational aid? Lots of different things. You could just use a simple piece of paper if you wanted to do that. If you were going to use this simple piece of paper, write something on it, have to make sure that it's big enough to see. For example, I might want to talk to you about speech. Now, this isn't very big, but it's big enough for you to see. And what happens is you're able to bring to the audience an idea, just a simple, straightforward idea. But let's say we wanted to talk about Native Americans. We wanted to talk about Native Americans and their regalia or clothing. We want to talk about their dress and style and their transportation. Then we could have something like this. We'd hold this presentation out in front of us so everybody could see it. Remember that the model that we're using is more important right now than the speaker. Here we have the Native American weapon. We have the mohawk that he uses. We have the various items that he wears and his transportation, the canoe. A battle axe here and his paddle here. All kinds of ways we could do a speech presentation. This would be a great speech to inform about the Native American, the transportation of the canoe, whether it would be hide, as this one's made out of hide, or birch bark. The paddles, how they were fixed. I mean, there's all kinds of ways we could go to make this model help us do a speech to inform. We could demonstrate iPhones. You might have 4 different iPhones. The iPhone 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, iPhone Plus, and show the various ways in which they've changed. Speech aids are quick, they represent models, and they're not used to be detailed. You have to be very, very careful. Some students like to use PowerPoints. That's been around now for a while, and everybody's excited about that. And you can use a PowerPoint if you want to, but be sure and don't do this. Don't turn around and talk to your PowerPoint. If you're going to use a PowerPoint, do something similar to what I'm doing. Off to your right or off to your left, have the PowerPoint up, and as you change it, just kind of point out the ideas. They should be big, bright, and they should be simple. Not a lot of detail. The details in here comes out here. The detail is not on the board. Very brief notes to just give the idea and give the pattern of where you're headed. But all of that detail and information comes from you because you're the speaker. Now let me caution you about something. If you're going to show a video, only make it a clip, because what happens, people get lost in the video and that becomes your speech. If you're going to show a video, turn it on, sit down, and let that be your presentation. That's not public speaking. If you're doing a public speech and you've got a clip, stand for a moment, let it play, watch the audience and their reaction, if you can see them, because sometimes the house lights come down, and then talk about that afterwards. But you know, video presentations are a little difficult in public speaking. You can use them, yes. And I know that if you watch TED Talk, they got a great big screen, and a lot of times they use those. But I prefer the public speaker who has a honed presentation and just uses quick materials to bring about what they're saying. So the speech needs aids. Don't forget about your dress and how you look. You should be always dressed a little bit better than the audience. Use some presentation aids that are crisp, bright, powerful, and big. Don't make them little. And this all helps us when we speak to inform. Now I want to pause here because a lot of people misunderstand the idea of the informative speech. They think that you're supposed to bore people with lots of detail. That's not necessarily true. Let's go back to our Native American presentation, for example. Native American presentation, we could talk about a particular tribe or clan. That would be one. Second, we could talk about transportation and how that they used a lot of water transportation on foot and water with canoe. It's about the only transportation they had, except of course the horse. Then we could talk about their weapons, we could talk about their dress. All of that would just be illustrative. It would illustrate how this particular tribe or group of people moved about and lived their lives. But we wouldn't try to get you to become a Native American. We wouldn't persuade you to go and stand the gap with them in a protest. That's not the real purpose of a speech to inform. The speech to inform is to enlighten the audiences about the topic that you're using. And so when we give a speech to inform, the pressure's really off because you're not trying to call them to action at all. You're merely giving them information. If you go to the pharmacy today for a prescription that your doctor has called in, a lot of times the pharmacist or the worker there will say, "Do you have any questions?" And they'll give you a list often that's stapled to your prescription that gives you instructions on how to take that pill. They just state forward straight away, take 2 pills a day, morning and night. Don't mix this with water or with milk or whatever. They give you these instructions. It's just to inform. That's what this speech is all about. Can they be interesting? Of course they can. A lot of this that I'm doing for you is speech to inform, telling you how to do this process, how this science works, public speaking. Later, of course, I'll get into persuasion, sometimes in every presentation, because I want you to do very well and be successful. But the speech to inform is really the most powerful speech in the sense that it brings knowledge to people. So you're enlightening them on a process or a way to do something. With presentational aids, it becomes very effective. So make sure you read about presentational aids and public speaking. Make sure you read over the idea of speaking to inform and figure out how you can be more effective at this. And remember, I always say practice, practice, practice. 25 times or more. As you get better at this, you'll be happier, you'll gain confidence, and you'll feel good about your speech and your speech presentation. Work up your notes, then deliver or put together your delivery notes, and then deliver that presentation to the cats, to the dogs, to the neighbors, to your family, out in the old woodshed, go to the barn, driving the car, 25 times. Practice, practice, practice. The old cliche is correct. Practice makes perfect. I'm Dr. David Lucas, and I say to you, you can be a great public speaker if you decide today to do it.